Okay, hey, all right.
Okay, so, we're on? Okay. Good evening, this is the August 21st, 2019 meeting of the Laconia Conservation Commission. I am Dean Anson.
Deb Williams?
Mike Foot?
Dick Christopher?
Deidre Feather.
Ashley Ruprecht.
Rob Mora.
Thank you. We have a quorum tonight, and has...
Dean?
Oh, you want to salute the flag? Okay, we'll salute the flag. I'm going to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So we have the minutes from the August 7th meeting. Anybody have any comments? Has anybody read them? Okay. Any comments?
I have one question. I wasn't here. About the state school update. Lisa said 4 members of the committee are in favor of including the COMCOM proposal. Now, which committee are we referring to here?
I believe that is the,
Is that the big committee that doing all
Doing-
the research here?
right,
or-
right. And it was to include the agricultural component.
Yeah, I think then ought to be something about what the COMCOM proposal is in the minutes then.
Okay,
Just brief description of it.
okay. Is that on tape, Rob?
Yep.
Okay, so if we could put that in, I think Dick's got a good comment there.
All right, so you're saying that the word committee should be probably changed to the
So
the Lake Shore
Lakeshore
Facility
Redevelopment,
Committee
yeah,
or whatever, just
that
so
would
it's
be
clear which
next thing
committee it
too,
is, right?
exactly.
Okay.
Just to make it clear who's doing what here.
Yep, okay.
I'll move that we accept the minutes with
I'll second,
changes
whenever
Dick
everybody's
said.
done reading them.
Okay, I have a comment under Pickerel Pond. M. Foot noticed that on the conservation land, there was,
Is?
is a fairly good infestation of knotweed. I think it's Japanese knotweed. To the east of the corner,
To the east of it, that sounds like east of the conservation land to me.
it's on the
Say it.
eastern side,
It's on the eastern
Eastern
side.
side would make more
This
sense.
is a picture of it right here.
Yeah,
yeah.
but just to clarify this,
Yep.
the east means like somebody else's lot to me.
Okay, any other comments?
We need to amend the motion to accept with the proposed comments.
I'll second.
Yeah, I guess I made the motion.
Okay. Any other comments?
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, okay. Okay. Okay, is there any new business? Anybody have any new business?
I haven't anything to bring to the table.
Okay. Okay, I don't believe there are any applications.
There are no applications.
Good, okay. So we're into old business. Pearly Pond update. The trimming of the Pearly Pond, of the Pearly Oak is scheduled to take place September 23rd in the morning. I talked to Amy Levisic of Parks and Rec, and there is going to be an article in the paper notifying the public that the trimming will take place.
Is this August 23rd or September?
September 23rd, when did I say?
I don't know if you did.
September, you said.
September, okay, good.
Sorry.
Well, that's a miracle. September 23rd. And it's going to take place early, and I think it's Donovan Tree Services doing it, okay. Anyway, we don't have anything to do with that, so. Anybody have any other information on that?
No, that you have, I have the same information.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, Trib and Paugus Bay water quality sampling. So, equipment's back?
Yep.
Good.
And I got here to the water department, I just need to know a date that you guys want to go out.
Right, and I didn't want to schedule it until Ashley was here.
How kind of you. You're
Do you
such,
like
such a
boats?
gentleman.
Do you like boats? Okay.
Good. Okay, so,
Those guys traditionally like the Wednesday,
this is the water
public,
department.
yeah, the water guys.
Okay. Okay. So I guess, Dean, you have a idea of when you think it would be appropriate for Ashley to do it? I mean, we have some ideas, and, you got a schedule for training and
How about the 28th
of,
August?
Sure, it's coming up. I'd go out. I having done it before, I'd go out,
That's next Wednesday.
yeah.
Works for me.
okay?
Huh?
Works for me.
So there's, somewhere in the trove of information is a set of points on Paugus Bay. And it's written down, I know it's written in the file somewhere.
GPS,
And
Coordinates.
it'd be nice to have the GPS coordinates, and there should be a GPS unit that was bought here. And
That we have.
I can.
and it'd be nice to put those coordinates right on there, so we can make it repeatable, so it can go out with it. So that stuff's there somewhere.
so what Mike is talking about are the deep water samples in Paugus Bay. And there are, 3 sampling points?
2, we've been doing 2, and yeah, and they go over and do a dip. There were some other dip ones, but it didn't go through a full turbidity and the sucky disc and everything like that. But we did take samples from over at, the cove with all the,
Christmas
Pickle
Island.
Cove?
yeah,
Pickle Cove?
no,
Christmas Island.
Christmas Island right in there, whatever
Okay,
that cove
okay.
is.
Okay.
Oh, after they did the
Ashley,
application of the.
No, it was
Yeah.
Langley Cove.
Langley Cove, but I know traditionally we took just a dip sample there, and then another sample down towards, the, Black Brook outflow. And those were just, things that, this is Scott sent in, and they were analyzed.
So the-
Different than than going through the whole turbidity and deep water stuff.
Okay, and so are you familiar with the meters?
Yeah, it's been a bit.
Are you gonna be able to go?
Yep.
Don't forget, because we have
Is
that
it
one that's right
Wednesday?
in the middle,
We have what?
that one deep water spot,
Yeah,
right
but-
in the middle.
Yep, I know where they are.
Okay,
So
I've
there's,
seen 'em.
there are two deep water spots, right?
Right,
Okay,
2 deep water spots. So Wednesday afternoon, as far as I know right now, I don't have a calendar on me. But I'd certainly call in and let anybody know if I wasn't able to participate. So those guys usually, whatever time they're able to go out.
okay.
They
And so
said that.
they take us to Langley Cove and to
Yeah.
Black Brook as
Yeah.
well as the deep samples?
Yeah, it's a nice little boat tour.
Okay, good.
and then they do their own thing, they might go up to the weirs.
Yeah, they don't usually, we're not usually in there with that, they do their own thing.
Yeah.
Gotta exercise the whaler, you know?
So,
Especially if it's a nice sunny day, right?
okay, so we need to know where they're gonna meet us and all that kind of stuff?
It's
What
there-
time?
Yep, that we need to know that. Usually that boat is kept right there at the waterworks, at the water.
Over on Union
building
Avenue?
On Union Ave.
Okay, you know where that is? Not yet,
Not yet.
okay,
We'll get her there.
okay, okay.
So, there's a number, you call those guys, they're real nice.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, I've already been in contact with Brian down there. I guess he coordinates it all.
Okay.
So I just needed to know the date, and I'll figure everything out and get it,
perfect,
notify you all, and
rock
we'll get
and
this,
roll,
we'll get this Jimmy done.
right?
Okay, good. Okay, and then, do we freeze the samples, or do we just keep them on ice and
There's
take them
no,
down?
you don't actually,
Freeze 'em.
I don't know what he did downstairs, I was inside.
Right,
I don't know that he freezes them.
No.
I don't,
would not think so.
no. Cause
But we
you
have
you have bigger samples, you know, they come in the brown sample bottles.
Yeah, I think
And
it was
that's-
just keep on.
And that's what you've pulled, actually, the sample is what you've pulled from down low, not just on top of the water.
Right,
Okay, so we
So
have
there's a
to,
magic tool that,
do we have that?
we're
Anything that we
supposed to
bought?
update it. I haven't seen it, I haven't been,
It must be downstairs.
I think
must
we
be
have it, yeah.
downstairs.
I have seen it.
Had to be better than the old,
Yeah, it is, for sure.
garden hose with a,
Yeah, kink the garden hose, keep your thumb over the end,
yeah.
and pray.
So hopefully the sampler is an updated thing. I haven't seen it, so.
Is that the thing that they did a demo on over by the
Fish and
landing?
game ramp,
Yeah, I
Yep.
was there for that one, yeah.
yeah, we did that
It's got
last
a
summer,
tube or some sort
Yeah.
you
Right.
drop down, yeah.
with 2 balls on the end, yeah.
Then you just pull a string and water rushes in and whatever.
Mm. Okay, so we'll figure this thing out, but I guess we better check and make sure we have all the equipment that,
As
Now-
expected.
now I know that the equipment has been calibrated because, Winnisquam Watershed Network used it because they didn't have their equipment calibrated yet. So they used it back in the beginning of the summer.
Do you have to
Are you
flush
talking about
that?
that conductivity meter that I just took down to DES?
No, that didn't work then.
Oh,
Do you have to flush that thing out with distilled water before you use it?
Probably deionized water.
But that's
anyway.
more of the tributary samples than the deep water samples.
But, okay, so we need sampling containers.
Right, there should be in a big, they should be in a, blue Tupperware container or something down there, if I last remember. I
Yeah,
don't
we
know.
may need to get, okay, might as well put Ashley right into this. We need to call DES and find out if we need new glassware, not glassware, but sampling bottles, fresh bottles. Because the ones we have are at least a couple of years old.
Oh, more than that.
Okay. They're antiques. Okay. So if you could check and then we need to have a way to get them down to, get the samples down to Concord.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Anything else on, okay, so that's for Paugus Bay. Now,
And there, I'm imagining somewhere in there, I don't know how Scott was, or Evan, but we didn't get to do it enough with Evan, but there should be somewhere, I would imagine, a written procedure for that in some of the files. I don't know, I could be making this up. but-
Should be. We can call Evan, and if we can't find it, we'll call Evan.
Right, but, and I know I didn't get to exercise it with Evan some, so, but somewhere there would be written
Okay.
procedure.
okay, I think I can sample then too. And the, in terms of the meters, if we don't have the procedures on how to calibrate the meters and then read the sample results, I can get the book that we use for Winnisquam Watershed Network. Same equipment, so we can get that worked out.
It'll have a white tube, so you can stick your head over the side of the boat and look down in the water. It'll have a disc
Sucky disc.
with a weight on it. It's a sucky disc, and it'll be quartered black and white. And it's used, and there's it's on a line that is, measured, that's measured off. Calibrated. And so that's how the, water clarity is tested. So that should be in that box. If you're looking, you'll recognize stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So let's do the deep
We'll-
water sampling first.
We will target for that date, but if in the process of doing this, we're missing stuff or we can't,
Yeah,
well,
Then-
we can
and that's,
reschedule.
and that's fine. I'm,
Yeah, then let me know, because we could probably borrow from Winnisquam Watershed Network.
Yep, okay.
Because they do all of that in Winnisquam.
that'd be nice to have ours in a box together with our new,
I think it's,
self-contained unit.
I feel like it is together.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Helena got it out for me so that Winnisquam could use it, so, okay. Okay, anything else on the state school property?
Do we
I'm
want to
sorry.
talk about
Tribs?
tributary? Yeah, sampling? Not worry about that till September.
Well, okay, so tributary sampling would take essentially a day.
Right.
So we,
Want to see how the deep water goes first?
no, let's schedule the, okay, so the 28th is the Wednesday before Labor Day, and what's the date, the September date? Oh, that's the wrong date. Oh, God. Wait a minute, what's going on here? So the 4th is after Labor Day, that Wednesday. We have a meeting that day, that night. Let's see if we can do some of the tributary sampling on the 4th, September 4th.
Did you have help from, I think I remember Evan saying you had help from either the high school or someplace like that?
Doing the tribs?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
No? Okay.
No. When Scott was here, so there's Evan, and then before Evan, there was Scott. Scott would either do it himself, or he would get one of us to go with him to help him.
Okay.
And it takes the better part of a day to do all the tribs.
Mostly because of the traveling.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Right, and then those samples, we do have to get down to, what do you call it, down to DES. So we're probably gonna have to get both of those sets of samples down to DES, but we may be able to coordinate with
That's,
other organizations or DES and stuff.
that's not an issue.
What?
Okay. That's not an issue. Getting in there is not an issue.
Oh, okay, good.
How many tribs are there that we do?
6 or 7.
I think there are 8. I think there's 8, but
They're
That's on
scattered
a map too.
Right.
all around the
That's on
building.
it, some of your data that's on a map
Okay.
that shows that.
so we had several years that we did them on a regular basis, like at least once a month. And that, we didn't follow that schedule over the last couple or 3 years. So we need to get back on that schedule. And I think that DES has said, they said that the last deep water samples were going to be in September, and that the tributary sampling, if you want to do it all year round, you go right ahead and do it all year round. So I think that's,
Okay.
Are we looking for anything in particular or certain contaminants?
we're looking for, in particular, we're looking for salts, because we got conductivity, you know, using all the salt on roads and parking lots and stuff. That's one of the issues, because it's not only affecting the water, it's affecting the soil.
It checks the oxygen levels in the water,
pH,
pH,
Temperature.
measures pH, temperature.
right. It actually, I do it with Winnisquam Watershed Network, and once you get a rhythm, and you have 2 people, one person's doing this and the other person doing this, it's not hard. You can get it down pretty fast.
Okay.
So,
Have we, did we find out if anybody's been testing Pickerel Pond? No?
Pickerel Pond 4.
Just, remember we talked about a baseline water test for that body of water, because we didn't know if there'd been any.
Oh, Pickerel Pond,
Isn't one of the test points on Hilliard Road, there's a culvert that goes into you're saying Pickerel Pond, I'm sorry. Okay, you're right, I'm
Actually-
sorry.
Probably Meredith may have.
right. So when we do Winnisquam, we sample Collins Brook,
Mhm.
which is the tributary from Pickerel Pond,
Flows north.
and it flows into Winnisquam.
Yep.
So, yeah, we do have that. And we have 2 years' worth of data.
Okay.
So when Sarah Steiner writes up the reports, she writes up about Winnisquam, and that includes Pickerel Pond.
Okay.
So Sarah Steiner works for DES, and every year they put together reports for each of the water bodies, each of the lakes, ponds that are, and the tributaries that are sampled for those, as well as the deep water samples, so that they can see what's going on. And they're pretty interesting reports, especially if you like a lot of data. So, okay. Anything else on tributaries and? Okay. What about the state school property? Isn't there a meeting coming up shortly?
27th is their next meeting at 9 AM.
At RFS?
I believe so, yes.
And do you go to those meetings?
I do.
Oh, nice. And can you give us an update on what's going on?
A couple of weeks ago, they held a public hearing at the middle school. Fair amount of attendance. They presented their preliminary master plan. They have not finished. It's still the basic program that they've been talking about now for 6 months. There's a component of housing, a component of commercial, a hospitality, potentially a health facility of some kind, could be continuing care, could be cancer center, could be, you know, any number of different things would fall into that category. And the sports facility, which they have narrowed it down to be an indoor multifunction, but primarily basketball, volleyball, but there could be a number of, you could have fitness center associated with it, you could have other activities, you could do pickleball, you could do any number of things if you have an indoor facility, but the reason for the indoor facility as opposed to, say, soccer or football or whatever is availability of hotel rooms. You know, basically Memorial Day through Columbus Day, it's very difficult to get a hotel room in the area, as we certainly hope that's the case.
Right?
Once you get to beyond Columbus Day, then vacancy rates go way down, and so there's availability, and that's where you want to try to drive the business to the area during the shoulder and the off-seasons. So that was the reasoning. Plus, there is in other parts, other parts of New England, not that far away, there are already a number of football, soccer type facilities that have already been, you know, that have been in operation for a while, and the various federations and league affiliates and those kinds of things didn't feel that there was a need for more capacity. So, but there is a need for indoor stuff. So, I mean, you could do cheerleading competitions, you could do wrestling matches, you could do, you know, you could do concerts. I mean, you know, you could do any number of things in a 40,000 square foot box, basically. So,
Any plans for a pool for like competition?
I mean, I really think it's gonna come down to whoever the developer may be as to what they're gonna offer. The facilities that are privately owned, that are successful, have a number of elements to them usually. They usually have, you know, a fitness club, pool, physical therapy, you know, any number of things that are associated with sports or fitness that puts people in there on a more regular basis. So, you know, so it could be any of those things, and it may be none of those things. I mean, I don't know, you know.
Okay.
Have they discussed anything about the agricultural aspect of all this?
They have, Genuine Local out of Meredith has, gave them a very good presentation at their last meeting. That was 3 weeks ago probably. They want to use what was the dairy barn, which is the big stone barn that's out front. They are, of anything, they are furthest along in any you know, really concrete proposal before the redevelopment commission. And it's been received very favorably. The components of their operation are processing of local farm products so that it's ready for consumer and restaurant use. They probably will not do a retail component, although they could if there seemed to be a demand, but they probably won't. The piggery barn, which is the one that's way over to the right-hand side of the property with the falling-in roof. So you're basically going to salvage the walls, and then you got to rebuild everything else. They would like to do a restaurant in there. And then in between those two buildings, they would like to use for agriculture, more to be, there's not enough room there to do anything large scale, but it's more to be, kind of a marketing,
Have samples?
yeah,
You too,
you know,
have
just
one
kind
of
of
these
a
in your
marketing,
backyard.
visual,
Showcase the farm.
it's a, yeah, you know,
Yeah,
we really do have real food, and we really do grow it here, you know, type of message. So they could be the first thing that the commission approves very easily. And they don't need a lot of utility support and all that stuff, you know, I mean, they gotta do some financing because they've got a ton of money they gotta put into that building before they can really use it, but it's, you know, it was made for agriculture and it can be again, you know, so.
I heard her presentation. What's her first name? Carol? Deb? McDonald?
Mary, Kathy, Diane, I don't know.
Mary.
I think it's Mary McDonald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick one.
She has a really good presentation.
Yes, she does.
She knows what
She did
she's
a great
talking
job.
about.
Yep.
She's very smart.
Yep.
Well organized.
I mean, they have a good business now, but
Yeah,
they're,
yeah, she wants to grow it.
yeah, they're running out of space, and they're being limited on what they have for space right now, and they wanna stay within the general area because the farms that they're dealing with now, for the most part, are in the area, so they don't wanna go far.
Right. And they, I think it would be good for the local economy, for the local farmers.
Yeah.
Right.
And they've shown that they can be you know, they're not gonna be a huge job generator, but they would be a job generator from a standpoint of they have employees. If they can increase the market for the local farms will need employees, and so that, you know, there is a job component to their operation, and that is the number one component of the redevelopment commission is job creation, so.
Right. Right. Good. Thank you. And the next meeting is the 27th at what time?
9 AM.
9 a.m. At RFS? You know, that's.
Yeah, pretty
Over.
sure. Water Street, yep.
Yep, okay. Okay. Anybody else have any, Dick, do you have anything else to add to the state school property?
No, I've been kind of out of touch with everything lately.
Yeah. It may be that at some point we invite Mary to come here and give a presentation to the Conservation Commission.
What's her outfit's name?
Genuine local.
Right.
Genuine Local.
They're in Meredith.
I think she lives in Samberton. Anyway, so anyway, they have good contacts with the local farmers. So, okay. Pickerel Pond. Okay. So I went out to Pickerel Pond and walked around, looked at that property.
Are these your pictures?
These are my pictures.
Nice.
And, thank you, Ashley. So, the first picture, you know, it would have been nice if I had numbered them or something, but the first picture, there are 3 buildings on the site that are in different states of disrepair. Some can be seen as being in disrepair, but the 2 of them cannot be because they're so overgrown. The first picture, the one at the top, is one that's overgrown, and you can see that that's Japanese knotweed that has, so if this is Pickerel Pond Road, there's a dirt road, remember the dirt road that goes back out here, unpaved road? And the pond is out here. So this road is still very passable. The parking lot is right in here, and there's a stream right along here. It goes out into And all of this area is, Japanese knotweed.
Where's the knotweed?
It's all along this eastern edge. And, oh, this is perfect timing.
Hi.
Wes, this is Ashley.
Ashley.
Nice to meet you.
Wes is, I don't know, how many jobs do you have, Wes? 6?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I
okay.
can't remember.
Okay, so these are pictures of Pickerel Pond, the property. So the top one is a building, so that white rectangular thing in the middle is a building in there that's, you can see, totally overgrown, but somebody has put a piece of material, not a tarp, but a piece of material over the roof. So I don't know if somebody's living in there or not. I didn't go in there. I mean, it was like,
Come on, you just didn't take your pistol and wait on in?
no, I don't have a pistol.
I-
My water
I
pistol, you
tell
mean?
you,
I have a- So anyway, so so along this stream, there is all this Japanese knotweed that essentially starts at the edge of the road and goes all the way out to where where Pickerel Pond is.
Does it go on the abutting property as well?
The abutting property, no, I don't think it does, and the reason I don't think it does is because the land drops off. So on this side over here, the land drops off, and there's actually a stream over there.
It's a lot of wetland.
Yeah, and there's a lot of wetland. So, so the first building is like right here, maybe not that far back. So the first building, this building is right here, and then I just took some more pictures of the Japanese knotweed. This grassy area here is, no, it's not grass, it's weeds, native vegetation, is about 4 or 5 feet high. So and somebody has been in there with an ATV, because I saw the tracks. I thought at first I thought it was an animal trail, but it wasn't, because there were 2 of them parallel to each other. I figured that one out by myself.
They were orderly animals,
What?
orderly animals.
Yeah,
They were
really,
getting back
yeah.
on the ark, 2 by
That's
2.
it, 2 by 2. Okay, so then I don't know why, but I was taking some pictures, you know, I was gonna draw these flowers, but disregard this top picture, that's got nothing to do with it. But when you get down to, so there is an A-frame building down here. So down here at the end, right near the pond, is an A-frame building. That was, of the 3 buildings, is the one that's in the best repair, and that is this one here doesn't look like an A-frame building because it's on its side. But this is the A-frame building. I did look in this, and there was nobody living in there. There was no signs that anybody had lived in there. The only signs of any people using it there were a few, not very many, a few beer cans, and they
No.
had
What kind?
Bud Light,
empty.
Empty.
Bud Light Bandit.
And there was a fire pit, at least one fire pit. So when you walk a little bit further down from that A-frame in this direction, that's what this other picture is, and you can see the pond in the background.
Looks pretty.
Scenic. And there was a pile, you can see this pile of lumber that was assembled, and it looked like somebody was using it as a source of fuel. Okay, so I didn't send all the pictures, but anyway, you got enough. Oh, and so back here by this A-frame, there is this boat,
Das Boot.
and Das Boot has been there since we were there. So how long ago was that?
Crocodile Dundee.
Well, I'll go throw down 5 on that.
You're gonna take it?
5, was it 5 years that we've been at this?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, so there are 3 buildings and I think the other building is over here. So these 2 buildings are like, and this is significantly overgrown. And so I talked to Dean today to ask him, I think what we need to do to be safe is to take these buildings down. So that somebody doesn't,
3 or 2?
all 3 of them, take all of them down, clean up some of the debris like the dust boat has to go. And then we have to figure out what we're gonna do about the Japanese knotweed. Because we set this standard that we had to, you couldn't do anything within 30 feet of the center line of this stream. And I'm fairly certain that the Japanese knotweed is within that area. So I don't know what trumps what.
Well, in theory,
In theory.
the city is exempt from its own regulations.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, yeah.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you just gotta remember, there's gonna come another time when I'm gonna say that same thing and you're gonna go, oh darn. You know, but in this
Today it
case,
worked
it could
for
be a
us.
good thing.
How would you eradicate this stuff?
I don't know, and I was hoping that Lisa would be here to talk about it, but
You know, having encountered a few patches of this stuff before, and I guess I'm being serious here, to go in with a bucket and backdrag it, it does break out the roots. You get it in a pile, you put it in the dump truck, off it goes to the brush dump.
Gets
Now
burned.
it gets burned. So what you have on the ground is greatly reduced. It's not gonna come back as fast the next year. So if you can get something black, a geofabric, something on that, and, I think you'll find with proper, caution, for application of it, I really think that, DES and, these guys do recommend poisoning it as a part of it. They put it right on what's left for roots. There's a few different things. I was reading one where the experiment was to inject them all. They had some sort of stuff and they'd go in and then inject all of these big roots, but not as much as just getting it out of the way, and then trying to maintain it.
I think the risk of using chemicals is that there's a stream right
Yep.
adjacent to it
Yeah.
that flows right into Pickle Pond.
So I'd say, the easiest is some sort of removal,
Backhoe.
and then, well, not a backhoe.
Handful.
Even just a bucket, when you put it down and roll it back, there's stuff keeps the soils loose enough, which is in the end why it contributes to erosion. And it's loose enough so if you come back, it's just in a big line. You can pick it right up, turn around on the side, right in the dump truck. You don't wanna be handling it, you don't wanna be on your hands and knees, you don't wanna crew from the prison, you wanna be able to get it out the best you can. I'd recommend mowing in this front area also. It's all part of the maintenance. And then you can see the bones of what you have. You can see where these other things are. You can get to them. And that's why I feel it's probably, my day of caring, I'd go right there.
It's so hard though because it's so wet.
Oh, I know.
You might not be able to get anything in there,
Yeah.
even yourself.
Yeah.
You might get stuck.
Oh, no, oh. Trust me, I'm good at that.
And then the other question is if it's,
You don't go in as, take a bite of it.
right,
Do something reasonable, you know what I mean, and it does keep it down, cause I encountered a few of these on a place where we went for a walk, we had taken a walk because Irwin Marine Corporation was looking to build extra storage out back. So we went out and looked at that brook, and as you went through that fence, there was knotweed that was big, and it was tall, and that's exactly what I did as an employee, is wipe that stuff right out, so, and it didn't come back the next year. I mean, or it didn't come back as vigorously. It's not something that's a one-time deal, that stuff's right in the soils from here on out.
It is critical to get the root system out and being persistent with it.
Yeah.
Because that stuff will grow through concrete. And it'll keep coming back.
The problem too is if it's right on the edge of our property or the city property, it's gonna be on the other side too, probably, the other
Sure.
side of the brook.
I don't think it is, because our side is here, and topographically, the other side is down here, so the brook is down here, and this is all wetland. So I think it's too wet for it to grow.
Whose property's the brook on?
The brook is, I don't know, because they didn't have the survey.
Oh, we were gonna have that surveyed, weren't we?
There is a survey. We
There
just
is?
we have to have a surveyor find the pins.
Oh, it's okay, that's what I meant. We need to have a surveyor take another look at it, see where things are, right?
Right, doesn't,
Remark it as necessary.
right, doesn't the city have a surveyor? I thought,
We may have one on contract, but
no, we don't have a surveyor,
on staff, no.
okay,
Thought we went through all this once before.
yeah.
Deja vu here.
But I agree with Mike, I think we need to mow this field. Just mow it and leave it.
Right.
Let it come back whatever way it comes back. You know, it's pretty, there were lots of wildflowers, there were lots of bees, lots of bees.
You're not going to diminish it, you're not going to diminish the quality of your growth in there by mowing it, especially you're already into August.
Right.
You know, you can see some of the other stuff you have here is the alders in the wet area. You know, leave those deer like those too.
So, Dean, did you get any information about?
I did not have a chance, no.
Okay, okay. So the question is, can the city, how do we proceed with the city in terms of removing these buildings and any other debris like this boat? How do we do that?
Yeah.
And then how do we deal with, because, you know, I think that if we had, what are the Brontosaurus, is that what it's called? For cutting the edges of fields to keep them fields?
Oh, yeah, what? You mean the nice one on the
Arm?
on the arm? There's, you know, some of that.
But I think that if we just used the equipment that the city uses to mow along the sides of roads,
Yeah, you know,
that would be adequate.
right. I look at what's out there, and I wanna sneak out in the middle of the night and just do it, because seriously, with a lawnmower, and, you know, a lawnmower, a tractor, and a dump truck, yep, clean that stuff right up. But I can't, because of the liability and stuff like that. But I'm saying it's not
wouldn't-
that big a
Get
deal.
stuck
I
in the
wouldn't be
mud, and then
heartbroken
we'd have
if
to
the boat
find you.
disappeared, but, you know.
I am on a strict non-boat collection
There you go.
regime at this point.
How many do you have? It's okay, we don't want that on tape.
Bad.
Is the, so back by the pond itself, like this picture that's in front of the A-frame, is there still like a little
Yeah.
wharf that goes out there?
Yeah,
Okay, is it,
it's almost like time has stopped. It's exactly the same that when we saw it, whatever it was, 3 or 4 years ago.
so it's rough,
5
but
years ago.
it's
Yeah. but you-
passable?
Right, and it looks like there's, they're like wooden planks that go out into the water, so that if you had a canoe or a kayak, you could put it down and drag it over those to get it into the water, because the deeper water is
Yep.
pretty far out.
Looks like there's a building on the other side too, you can see.
Oh, yeah.
That's a, yeah, other homeowner.
That'd be the Meredith side.
Mm. Not necessarily, not from that angle,
No?
Dick, that would be
Is that
probably
anything we want to
over on
improve?
the east side. At least with the weed whipping,
Create more liability?
I don't know. I think the first thing I would like to see us do is eliminate the liabilities we have with these buildings.
Right.
And then go out there and go kayaking.
and then it's good cleanup.
Yeah, I mean, I think when Dean and I were talking earlier today, we were talking about doing the demolition in the late fall, early winter,
Sure.
when it's colder and a lot of this
Firmer.
vegetation has died down so we can get the stuff out. So, but first we need to see who's gonna do it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna fall into parks or whether that's gonna be DPW or we gotta find some money somewhere else to do it.
Hire a contractor? Well, I
Yeah.
know a guy with a dump truck and a blue truck.
And a blue what?
Tractor.
A blue what?
Blue tractor and a dump truck.
Really?
Yep.
Would he give us a good rate?
Oh, sure.
Does he have a headlamp?
Don't need one.
We'll find out.
Okay. And then, since we're working on city property, do we need any permits to do this? Demolition, or are we still exempt?
How exempt are we?
I guess we'll find that out
I
later.
don't know,
Okay,
but I will find out.
okay.
How does the fire department feel about a little training
Oh, there you
exercise?
go. Now, see, now you're creating excitement.
There I go, right?
Okay. Anything else on the Pearly Pond? The Pickle Pond? Okay. What about cyanobacteria? Anything?
Seemed to be a pretty serious issue this summer in a lot of places. Which is, we've had the hottest June and July on record. So I feel like it's,
So there is a suit against the Powder Mill Fish Hatchery over off Merry Meeting right now. And the state, the fisheries has been working on an expired permit since 2012. And so they're looking at the quality of the water that comes out of Merry Meeting that goes through and what's to be done about what's in the outflow of it, because the contaminants, the
too many nutrients.
poop and everything else and uneaten food is so high. So so in that, it contributes to some of the cyanobacteria blooms.
Have
Somewhat,
there
so.
been any in Lake Winnipesaukee?
I have not,
I haven't seen any.
I haven't been up to Meredith to look at where it usually is,
It's
right at the
usually
bottom
by-
of the mill input,
Or
right there.
by Bear Island.
Bear, yeah, but no, and there's been some stuff, there's been some good discussion on the Winnipesaukee Forum about it, and people are really trying to bring out that all the green lawns and all the fertilizer is what contributes, they'll end up poisoning the lake that they came here to live next to. So, I've seen that, but other than that, I haven't.
Yeah.
No input.
I know last time I talked about there's 2 lakes in Jersey, but there was also a reservoir now in New Jersey
Really?
that had been closed
Right,
because of the blooms. And I'm like, that's getting serious.
Yeah, because it's a source of drinking water.
oh yeah.
So,
You would think that another spot that you'd see a bloom is, Prawn Bay or over on the, in Paugus Bay where all the people are behind the, cemetery there. There's a, sandbar there. And you can go by some days, there's 150 boats out there. And it's-
Winnisquam?
No, on Paugus. Paugus.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right,
Yeah,
just
yeah, I know
before
what
the
you mean.
Margate, if
Mhm.
you're going up,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
there's
yeah.
sandbar in there, and so I would imagine that'd be another one that would be ripe for a bloom, unless the flow through there is enough to keep it down.
I feel like they've had them there before.
Yeah,
I haven't seen, I get the DES alerts on cyanobacteria blooms, and I haven't seen any in Winnipesaukee, Winnisquam, or OPG.
really.
Now, it could be we haven't had them because we've had so much rain that it's caused the water to flow faster.
Right?
Or, I guess haven't we had them over Ahern State Park at that beach? Or
remember that, yeah.
Was that cyanobacteria or was that E. coli?
E. coli, I think.
Yeah, E. coli. So I haven't said any E. coli, but anyway.
It's because we stopped monitoring.
Yeah, I was gonna say they
Exactly.
stopped testing, so.
They did.
Yeah, really.
Geez, these results are amazing, look how much it improved.
Yeah, really.
Pesky testing.
Okay, anything else on cyanobacteria? Okay. Milfoil. Deb, you want to talk about lake hosts?
Our Lake Host at OPG, her last weekend was this past weekend. So Saturday was her last day, because she's going back to college. She did a great job there. I told her next year if she's got time between, she's gonna be a senior though, so she may have a real job next year. But, we still have probably $700 of that grant left, which we won't use. And we're probably 50 to 60% of the match that we've needed for that ramp. And I don't expect it to be a problem to get in the rest of it, because we'll be able to volunteer time there now that she's gone. So, any Saturday or Sunday, anybody wants to, well, for any day, for that matter, that anyone wants to sit over there, just keep track of your hours and let me know. We can use that as match for the grant.
Has everybody been trained?
They were trained last
You
year.
know what to look for.
Yeah. Do you still have your shirts?
I do.
Yeah. Did you ever get a shirt? I never gave you a shirt.
Okay, the $700 that's still in the budget, does that get rolled into next year's
No.
budget for, no?
Does not get rolled over.
If we don't use the $700, will they look at our application next year and say, we're not gonna give you as much because you didn't use all of it last year?
I don't think so, because last year we didn't quite use it all either, and we actually got more money this year, so I think we're safe in that. They kind of base it on how many boats you've inspected over the year,
Okay, so,
so.
do you know how many she's inspected?
I think right now we're up to 150. It's not the busiest ramp, but
Right, 150 is not, Is a lot.
150. So to compare that number, the Winnisquam, the Fish and Game ramp, where the two boys are for Winnisquam, they're 3 weeks behind in their data, but they were up to 350 boats. So it's just much busier. So,
that's a circus.
right,
It's amazing to think that Winnisquam gets that much.
it's crazy.
They were doing a boat every 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Every 7 minutes, a boat was being launched.
It's pretty good.
And they weren't holding up the line because they went down the line as the people pulled up and got in line. They would down do the inspections of the boats and the interviews with with the owners before so that they weren't being held up.
So what happens if they find something on a boat and they're in line getting ready to go in? Do they circle them around? They say, don't put it in?
Usually you're going to take off the specimen, check the boat more carefully to see if there's anything else. I can think of one time where I actually asked somebody not to launch until they washed their boat. We're not really allowed to do that.
Right.
But, because we really don't have any authority to
Right.
do that. But in all the years that I've done it, I've only really gotten concerned with one boat. So normally if you find something, then you're gonna do a more intense inspection to look for anything else. So,
Hmm.
that's about all you can do. You
And-
can suggest that they wash it, but we can't force it.
And the time that I've been down at either Winnisquam or at Messer Street, the people bringing their boats in are aware of the program and what we're doing. They cooperate. Most of the time, since their boats are bringing them in on a trailer, the boats have been dried on the trailer. And some of the boat owners are fastidious about having a sparkly boat, so they clean it. And if we ask them, so far at Winnisquam, we've collected five samples off boats. And they go into a Ziploc bag, are labeled, go down to DES, and they're identified as whether they're
Invasive or not?
invasive or just a native material.
Yep.
And most of the time, those 5 samples that were collected were off the trailers and not on the boats, because they get stuck on there and they get dried. So we were taking out dried samples that were dead, but
And none of those samples have been invasive that we sent down.
not yet.
And out of the whole state so far this summer, there's only been 7 saves. So a
Oh.
save is where they find something invasive.
Hmm.
So I think people are finally getting the message to clean, drain, and dry your boats, which is good.
And a lot of the people that come down already have the stickers on their boat or on their trailer that says clean, drain, and dry. So it's, the program may not be saving so many specimens that they find, but the educational component is working really well. So people are aware, and they don't want their waterways messed up, so. Because typically in at least Winnisquam, they're bringing their boats, where were you last time? Winnisquam. Where are you going next? Winnisquam.
Yeah.
So it's an effective program. I believe it's effective.
Yep.
But one of the things, we have a question as to whether there is milfoil, Eurasian milfoil at the mouth of the ramp. And Amy Shmagula is going to come and look at that the next time she surveys Lake Winnisquam, which is going to be in the fall. So she'll come and she'll look, and I asked her to go further up the Winnipesaukee River, and she said she would do that. But I think the other thing that we need to do in terms of the Winnipesaukee, there are 2 other things we need to do that I can think of with the Winnipesaukee River. One is we need to clean the debris out of there. Now, we did that several years ago. The Conservation District, Belknap County Conservation District coordinated it, Lisa coordinated it, and got divers to go after they dropped the lakes. When they dropped the water level in the lakes, they went in and took out tires and shopping carts and bicycles. And
That's next fall, not this fall, next fall.
that's when they're gonna drop. I thought they were gonna drop
They did last fall.
so
Did
that
a
they
big
can.
one last fall,
They
yeah.
did last fall. They do every 2 years.
Right, but aren't they gonna drop so they can get to the Avery Dam and do repairs?
That's next fall,
Oh, that's next fall, it's not this fall.
no.
Oh, okay, all right. So anyway, I mean, so one part of it is we have this debris that finds its way into the river. The other is the discharges from the bridges into the river and from facilities that are along the edge of the river that are discharging into the river.
Stormwater discharge?
I
You're
hope that's
getting
what they,
plastic bags and stuff like that?
yeah, plastic bags. So, I mean, I don't, maybe what we can do is organize a group of kayakers to go, or canoeists to go up the river and collect stuff.
Could have a cleanup day.
Who?
I said we could have a
Yeah,
cleanup day.
and that's what I'm suggesting, we have a cleanup day. Now, what about in September for the Great Day of Caring or Sharing or whatever, I'll never get it straight.
Caring.
Caring, thank you. Is this a possible candidate?
Sure.
That would be pretty specialized, though, like with your team of volunteers. You know, not everybody's gonna have a kayak or be able to swim. I mean, we can submit it and see.
Could go back up at Pickerel Pond.
Go over to Pickerel Pond and,
For the boat.
Empty some more beer cans.
Right?
pick up the boat.
Pick up some of the.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we got,
knotweed?
you think we could ask them to take down buildings?
No.
You don't even get that far. First you wanna look at it anyways. First you wanna just clean up what it is and see what you have, then you can make a plan to get at it. You can't take down a building in a day anyways with a group of volunteers.
But
Unless
you
you
said
had
you
a
could do it.
really nice tractor.
Okay, so maybe the, Day of Caring is, the candidate is the river. See if we can get enough people with kayaks, or if we could get Marine Patrol, or,
I thought he was saying we go to Pickerel Pond for the boat, and then we send the volunteers out in the boat.
Yeah, there you go. Now you got a vessel.
That's where my mind went.
oh, we bring the boat back here and, oh.
Exactly. Two birds with one stone, you know?
Instantly create another obstacle that has to be removed.
And then in the fall, next fall, you can take the boat out of the water.
Right.
Oh, because we won't need it
There'll
anymore.
be something at the bottom of it is why.
Okay. Anything else on milfoil? Oh, the
The treatment is coming up
herbicide treatment
Treatment's
is,
next, I forget the date, early September, I think, isn't it?
yeah, it's in September, but the divers, are starting in Winnisquam soon.
Yep.
Like within the next week. So the majority, so this is really an interesting scientific, field study. They used, last year they used 2,4-D in Molten Cove to treat the milfoil. And in Pickerel Cove, they used Procellacor, which is what they're using this year. The Procellacor was much more effective than the 2,4-D. So that in Pickerel Cove, they had, when they surveyed it this year, this spring, they found 3 or 4 plants. Where in Molten Cove, they found a lot of milfoil. So that was, I think, their justification for Procellacor. It's supposed to be less you have to notify abutters, but they don't have to be as far away from where you're doing the application is with 2,4-D. I think 2,4-D, you have to notify 1,200 feet, and for Priscilla Core, you have to notify 200 feet from where you're doing the application.
Yeah, it doesn't travel.
Yeah. So, okay. Anything else on milfoil? Okay. Do we have any staff report?
Ashley has survived her first day.
So far.
So far.
Yeah.
It's a long day.
The longest day.
It's been good. It's a learning process for sure. Lots of new faces.
Yeah, really.
I'm excited.
We should all wear name tags for you.
And
That's it. We have our.
I guess we do.
Yeah, well,
I don't
Yeah,
think
you're on the
you are
wrong
who
side.
you are.
So maybe what we could do is just take like a couple of minutes and talk about what our experience is, so Ashley knows who we are. Mr.
You
Christopher?
looking at me?
Yeah.
You're looking at me.
Well, I joined this thing, what, maybe 3 years now? Somewhere around there. I've always been interested in conservation, and I'm a master gardener. I think three of us on this group are. And I got into the master gardener stuff because I'm a gardener, you know, vegetables, stuff like that. And it was very interesting. I learned a lot about all the stuff we talk about here. And I continue with it. I just, you know, I'm very conservation oriented about stuff. Particularly when it comes to the state school. Quite a few years ago, we formed a committee, Save the State School, right after the prison went out of there, and they were wondering what the heck to do with the thing. And that committee was pretty much oriented towards agriculture for the school. And then it's evolved into something else now, but state school's still on the menu. So I've been involved with that. You know, it's pretty much anything to do with agriculture and conservation I'm interested in.
Mr. Foot?
I walked in to a meeting some years ago, uninvited, and wanted to participate, see what was going on, see what was being said about conservation here in Laconia. I'm into it because I live on a farm with 260 acres in Weirs Beach, and I am also a member of New Hampshire Timberland Owners Association, and I think it's preservation of land or conservation of it for public access is something that is important to as a part of a community. And that's what motivates me.
Aren't you a docent too?
Docent for
Isn't it?
where?
Didn't you do the wildlife?
Oh, yes, we
Yeah, I
did.
did that too for quite a while, docent for the Fish and Game.
It was saving special places and been through training like that. And we've done, been to a lot of the training throughout the years here where we go either to lakes, and this is one of the things I find about participating in here that's good, you know, when you can learn more about your lakes and forest. I've also done a lot of the walks with Scott, for what we had for conservation land here in the city of Laconia, and that's why I'm really interested in that GPS unit and going over the plots that we have, so there is some transference of institutional knowledge. I'm a little worried that it could peter out, and I would be interested in passing that along.
Thanks. Deb?
You can go.
he thinks he's gonna
trying to
save
get
the
out of
best
it.
for last.
No.
You know what you're doing.
That's you.
Oh.
I've been an environmental guy since I was about 7 years old, and done all kinds of environmental stuff for consulting engineering firms. I got involved with consulting engineering firms when the federal environmental regulations were first going into effect. Clean Water Act, Clean Air Act, the National Environment and Policy Act. And I've been on the commission for, I don't know, 10 years or so. I think it's 10 years, 11 years, whatever. But I have the same thoughts as what Mike and Dick said, and I think same thing that Deb and Wes are going to say. I believe in, conserving our natural resources and protecting them. And so the other day I was even called a tree hugger, and I'm not a tree hugger. I like trees, but.
Wait a minute, that's one of my passwords for something or other.
Don't tell everyone.
Yeah.
Didn't tell you
Still
about
on
what,
air.
though.
Okay, yeah. So, anyway, so that's what I do. I believe in it, so.
And I don't know how long I've been on the commission. It's been at least 10 years too. And I sort of just invited myself. I used to come to the meetings like a science geek and, talk about things. I work at the Laconia Middle School, so I'm always trying to get the kids involved and get them educated about that. I've run the Lake Host program in the city for probably the last 8 years through New Hampshire Lakes. We usually get a grant every year, or we have some kind of, for 7 years we did a program with high school students, a summer youth employment program. So I got to pick like 6 students, and we'd actually employ them for the summer doing lake hosting and landscaping at the water's edge, education we would go to the Boys and Girls Clubs and put on different presentations, stenciling drains around the city. So it's my thing.
Yeah, I don't have quite the storied career that all of these fine people have.
It's because you're so young.
But I got my degree in environmental conservation, and I spent some time working for a watershed stewardship program up in the Adirondacks. And I'm currently a master's candidate for secondary life sciences. So I'll be working in the high school this fall and in the middle school in the spring. So I'll be teaching environmental science as one of the classes this fall. So hopefully going to get some of the high school kids to get involved, or at least show up to a couple meetings. And I know Lisa has sort of some funding to get them some extra tools they can use in their class, which is awesome. But just personally, I love the outdoors, and I always have, and that's kind of what brought me here. That and a nice suggestion from Dean, but I think I've been on the commission for a while now, like 6 months. Thought I'd slip that in at the end.
The other 2 people that are on the commission that aren't here tonight, one is Marnie Schultz, and she has been on probably 15 or 20 years. She was the chairperson for a number of years, and she's a master gardener. I'm a master gardener. Lisa's a master gardener. Marnie is, she brings a different perspective because she's traveled the world. And so she sees what other countries have done, and it's valuable for us to have that perspective. I think, and Lisa is, she's the coordinator for the Belknap County Conservation District. And she's involved in a lot of different conservation organizations and environmental organizations. And in fact, the Conservation District is going to put on a soil soil
Erosion control,
erosion control, soil,
best management practice class.
yeah, ecology class.
On the 10th and 11th of September.
Yeah, I think and for Belknap County is putting it on the 11th of September. So we all kind of cross-pollinate, support each other, and she's really involved with a lot of different organizations, so she's got her finger on the pulse of what's going on, and not only at the state level as well as the county and local, so. And she's lived here all of her life. How long, and Mike is a lifetime resident,
Same.
Dick? Wes is New Hampshire. Yeah, but he's from New Hampshire, born and raised. I haven't let him out yet. I moved here full-time in '06. What about Deb?
85.
So, we're an eclectic group.
It's nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
I can go into my background a little
Sure,
bit.
yeah.
wanna know.
Yeah.
So, 2016, I graduated from the State University of New York in Potsdam, which is like super upstate, just an hour south of the St. Lawrence River, hour and a half from the Adirondacks. But I graduated with my bachelor's in environmental studies and minored in political science. And after that, I interned. I moved back home. I'm born and raised in New Hampshire, so I came back, interned for the state Adjutant General's Department, which complements the National Guard, Army National Guard. So I was in Concord at that Air Force base, or
Yeah.
Army National Guard base right there next to the airport. So I worked under the hazardous waste management director there. So I went around to the different armories and sampled hazardous waste, window caulking for PCBs and X, Y, and Z. After that, I started working for Burns & McDonnell. They're an engineering and environmental consulting firm. So I was a public involvement specialist contracted full-time with Eversource Energy. So for the past 2.5 years, I've worked at Eversource and Hooksett full-time, basically working as a public liaison with the public and municipal officials throughout the life of different transmission and distribution projects, line rebuilds, substation rebuilds. So it's been a fun.
She was involved with the Messer Street substation rebuild.
Yep.
Really?
Yep, I worked very closely with Krista Larson and Wes on that project, and even afterwards got 2 little crab apples installed with a picnic table.
Yeah, that looks nice. It
Thank
looks
you.
very nice.
Yeah, so, and just a little bit about like what I like to do in my spare time. I also love gardening, not a master gardener, but I do like to think I have a green thumb. I have like 40 houseplants, it looks like a jungle. I actually was scuba certified in Winnisquam back in like 2012, so I like to do that in my spare time. More so ocean diver versus the lakes, but yeah, the turbidity is a little cloudy.
Can you do this?
Can I do that?
We'll send you down and pull some milfoil for us.
Do you scuba deer and go pull it up?
I could do it. It's just I feel like that would ruin the hobby a
Yeah,
little bit.
there you
Being in a
go.
wetsuit, like you know, 6 hours.
We've been engaged over in Blackbrook, and we've done some milfoil remediation in which we were able to watch one of the local firms, Aqualogic, suit up, and they had a whole unit that would suck up the stuff from the bottom and then separate it.
Yeah,
So,
it's some hard work. I mean, I've done fish counts before. I've gone down to Rhode Island and done tropical fish actually get like swooped up the Gulf towards the end of around like
Up the Gulf
September
Stream.
timeframe. Yep, and they'll get stuck in the coves in Rhode Island. So we do a tropical fish count and catch fish for the aquarium.
nice,
That's
there you
cool.
go.
And for
Chad,
dinner?
you get to go fishing.
Nah, butterfly fish probably don't taste too good. Yeah, I'm very excited to work with you all and
Good.
get to know you and
Yeah,
start my new career in planning.
good,
Happy to
Been a
have you.
yeah,
Fun-filled first day.
good, good. You know, if the first day isn't fun,
Well, there's always tomorrow.
Do you have a lot of travel to get here, or do you live local?
I live in Canterbury.
That's not
oh,
too bad.
okay, so that's good. So one of the things that we try to do is be mindful of, in particular, the winter weather. Because you have to travel the furthest, so we try to be mindful in terms of making sure that you can get home safely.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
So we have a number of things that we have done over the years that have kind of not been done recently, and we need to get those back into operation. One of which is walking the conservation easements, and we haven't done that in a couple of years, so we need to do that. It's if you find a time when you can do it and you tell us, we'll try to, you know, somebody will try to go with you, because we've walked most of them at one time or another, so we know, like, oh, yeah, you're still growing apples over there, okay, that's really cool, and the deer still coming, yeah, they come, okay. So it's, we have a history with the landowners, and the one we were talking about with Pickerel Pond is, we started 5 years ago?
At least, yeah.
At least 5 years ago, talking to the landowner about purchasing this property, because they were going to develop it. And this person dropped the ball, we dropped the ball, they dropped, and finally we completed the process. When did we complete it?
Just this,
Last fall, I think it
last
was.
fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we have this new conservation easement that, as Mike said, we don't know where the pins are. So we have to have,
Take the plot out, take the GPS out, stand on them, and just put it back in files here.
So-
And once again, I know there's a full set of maps, but I also know on the computer that you can just look at it, and there's layers of all this GIS stuff that's been put together. It'll give us all our conservation lands and stuff like that. Some good information in there.
so. Good, we're glad to have you.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Okay.
Now let her go home.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, now we all have to go home. So, anybody have anything else? Anybody wanna make a motion? Dick?
I move we adjourn?
Second?
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Phew. Thank you. Thank you.
September 4th is the next meeting?
September 4th is the next meeting. Thank you, Dick.